Welcome to another episode of r/entitled parents, and you are watching Reddit Gossips. So let's start with our first story. Please, sir, stop dangling your baby over the shark tank. Okay, so I'm 18 and I've just moved to a new city to be with my, now thankfully, ex-boyfriend, and I'm looking for whatever job I can get. I see an ad for a job at the local Sea Life Center, a chain of aquariums across the UK, for someone to do talks to the punters and such. I've been in theater groups since I could walk, so I think great, I can learn scripts and talk about fish. And I managed to get a 6-week seasonal job over the October half term and leading up to Christmas. About 50% of my job is doing these talks for school groups about the otters, the sea turtles, the Finding Nemo exhibit, and so on. 15% is cleaning the outside of the tanks, 5% is dressing up in the giant otter mascot suit and getting kicked to shreds by toddlers at birthday parties, and 30% was sitting freezing my arse off at the touch pool, a simulated rock pool with crabs and sea anemones the kids could touch. Situated right above the constantly open front door and directly across from the open-topped, black-tipped reef shark and moonray tank, and Basil, the bottom-feeding bamboo shark. He was my favorite. That's right, I said open tops, with approximately 1.3 meter glass slides filled with water, sharks, and stingrays. I kid you not, the number of parents I had to ask not to dangle their babies or toddlers over the approximately 1 meter deep water was ridiculous. At least 3 a day, probably rising to 10 or 12 on the busy weekends. The parents were not impressed by my adherence to basic common sense. I got thrown incredulous looks, angry retorts, the lot. The crowning glory, though, was the dad who informed me, "It's fine, you can just jump in there after them." Dude, you could not pay me to jump in shark-infested water to save your baby that you just dropped. Sorry, not sorry. That job was kinda terrible, to be honest, and the lunchroom was right next to the very smelly quarantine area. I was very happy to leave at the end of my contract. Entitled dad doesn't understand concept of a zoo versus a petting zoo. So when I was 12 or 14 years old, I volunteered at my local zoo at a summer program. Every month, there was a free weekday where anyone could come to the zoo for free, and as one can imagine during the summer, these days were packed. The volunteers were prepped for insanity, but seeing is believing. One day, I was on a break for lunch and was walking by the rabbit enclosure in the children's zoo with a friend. The rabbit enclosure at the time had a very short fence about 2 feet high. However, there was a short lawn of grass between the fence and the sidewalk and a rope fence separating the sidewalk from the lawn, so 2 barriers between the public and the live rabbits. This allowed for kids to be able to see the short bunnies without obstruction, but with clear indication that these were not petting animals. As we were walking past, we see a kid maybe 2 or 3 years old has ducked under the rope fence and has begun to scale the small secondary wire fence to the rabbit enclosure. We're dumbfounded and start walking over just as the kid hops down and begins to chase the rabbits around. The parent has since noticed and we yell the kid can't be in there as the entitled dad starts to step over the rope and head toward the enclosure. The dad steps over the second wire fence and goes to pick up the kid. The wave of relief that washes over me turns into bewilderment as the father turns around with his kid in his arms and then puts the kid back down to pet some cornered rabbits. We repeat that he cannot be in there and those rabbits are not for petting. The dad looks at us, doesn't say anything, and then as leisurely as can be, he picks his kid back up, steps over the 2 fences, and walks away. Entitled mom yells at me for turning around. So this happened maybe a few years ago. I think I was maybe like 9 years old. Me and a bunch of my neighborhood friends were in Destin, Florida for spring break. We went to this really good seafood place called Pompano Joe's. I highly recommend it. We sat down and we had gotten our drinks. This family was behind us and they had a boy named Harper. One of my friends was also named Harper. So when this mom says his name, we all turn around because we think she's talking about our Harper. She then rudely snaps, "Yeah, Harper, that's his name. You got a problem with that?" We then all turn around, a little shaken up, but nothing too serious. Then, a few minutes later, Harper spills his drink, which obviously makes a loud sound. I turned around and this bitch shouts, "What are you looking at? Don't look at me." So instead of helping her son clean up, I never met her son, but he seems okay. She yells at me specifically for turning around. After that family was herded out of the restaurant, we all got free desserts from the staff. I feel sorry for the boy Harper because he was deprived of a great meal because of his knucklehead of a mom. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel for more videos just like this.